Welcome to Dave D's Random Watch. This is Random Watch Wife Select. Now, this movie that we ended up watching was not in any of my collection. It's not my collection. We have a variety of streaming services. We have Paramount Plus, we have HBO Max, we have Netflix. Netflix, in my opinion, in terms of movie qualities, they're not what they used to be, because these studios who own a lot of these movies are making their own streaming services. And HBO is still HBO, so you'll get a variety in there yet. But this one was from HBO Max, and we're just scrolling through, just like the whole point of making this, so I don't do that with the collection here. And she came across Red Riding Hood. Amanda Seyfried, Gary Oldman, and a few other notable actors are in that film. It is something that I definitely would not watch. In fact, I do recall, I think at the time when this movie came out, I had a roommate, and I do believe he rented it, and I don't remember. I didn't watch it. I probably went to bed, but I do recall very vaguely of this movie existing. It came out in 2011, and it's pretty much following what Twilight did. It features the same person who directed Twilight, Catherine Hardwicke, Christine Hardwicke, something like that. She directed Twilight, and she made Red Riding Hood. And even from what I read and what my wife mentioned, is that the beginning of the movie has the same exact shot almost, like a camera panning into the woods, the forest, and lakes, and all that stuff. So the movie is that it's a Twilight knockoff. It's a teen romance movie, a Red Riding Hood with its own spin. You got love triangle between her and the guy that she wants to be with, and the guy that has an arranged marriage with. And while this is all going on, you got a werewolf that comes in, does some destruction, gets the town folk riled up, and now you got people who want to hunt this werewolf. And then this is where Gary Oldman comes in. How they got him to do this movie, I have no clue. But you know what? It's still Gary Oldman, and he's still a great actor, and he gives everything 100%. He comes in and tells everyone that this werewolf is probably among you. It could be anybody. So then the movie, in a way, turns into who's doing what, who's the werewolf, who isn't. And Amanda Seyfried's character has that impression that maybe it's one of the guys that she likes, maybe it's not, maybe she doesn't know. And you get to the point in the film where they might even hint that it's her grandmother. You know, you got the old classic tale, the grandmother, forest, all that. The movie is not the worst, not the best. It's okay. It's not terrible. I mean, I could tolerate it. And some of that might be because maybe I have a bias towards Gary Oldman as an actor, and he does everything perfectly, no matter how bad the movie is. And the scenery looks great. I really like the visual presence that this movie gives you. It gives you the town, a medieval town. They don't really say what year this takes place in. It's sometime in the Middle Ages. The little town that they're in is very creepy, very gothic, maybe gothic-y looking. And then, you know, where the grandmother's house is, that looked really nice. And when it had the snow-covered ground with the snow and the wind blowing, that looked like that was a great image. I really liked that. I liked how that did that. And of course, in the end, the movie does its little spin, a spin on the classic tale. Of course, you know, when you got your romance between the two guys and the girl, it's almost like a Team Edward, Team Jacob thing. Like I said, when studios get a popular movie, they do everything that they can to just copy and then steamroll the same thing out over and over. That was like when Scream came out in 96. All the horror films after 96, probably till the early 2000s, were just a clone of Scream. So when you had Twilight come out, you had these teen romance movies, especially dealing with supernatural elements. They're just cut and paste copy rollouts of the same concept, because that's what the kids were going to, and that's where the money comes in. So Red Riding Hood, I would give that 2.5 stars out of 4. I mean, it's an okay movie. It's just slightly above okay. It's not terrible. I'd have to say one thing that I chuckled at is like they were doing a celebration. This could be a spoiler, but they thought they caught the werewolf, and they're celebrating. They're having the music play. It's just drum beat thing. A lady was singing something, and like I mentioned before, this is kind of a medieval town, like very super religious. You know, super religious to the point where like, you know, you hear of those old days where you had sermons say that if you did something totally innocent, really, you know, like witchcraft, like you're a witch, you have, you know, that's the kind of society that this portrayed here. And this particular music that they're playing at this party and celebration, I'm just sitting there listening to it. If this town was that superstitious about stuff, or in that day and age, that music sounded pretty satanic, really, if you think about it. So the fact that they got a werewolf running around doing things, I'm not really surprised, because they're just playing this demonic sounding music. So Red Riding Hood, if you're into that kind of stuff, I would slightly recommend it. Which means maybe I'll like Twilight when I watch that, because this movie is a Twilight clone. So until next time, Red Riding Hood, it's 2.5 stars. Check it out if you want. It's on HBO Max.